This could be huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs as the draft is now only a few days away. Lots of trade rumors are circulating regarding Mitch Marner, but some new reports have come out revealing who the Toronto Maple Leafs could be potentially targeting in the upcoming draft and what their impact could be on the team in the future. So I'm going to break all that down in this episode. But before we do, if you're part of the large percentage who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to Darius and myself. We're going to have lots of coverage as the draft approaches, as free agency starts to escalate because lots of moves are going to go down. But Darius, there's been a lot of Mitch Marner trade talks and all these things. Today we're going to focus more so on who the Leafs could actually be targeting in the draft, whether they get an extra pick from a Mitch Marner trade, whether they move some picks around, or if they just keep the ones they have, which is 23rd overall. Some interesting things to discuss today, and let's just dive right into it. Some prospect talk to spice things up a little bit. So we can see this here. This is an article posted, and it says the NHL Mock Draft 2024 predicting all 65 picks with the first two rounds from prominent Wheelers. So, Darius, we're going to start with this, and this is Wheeler draft analyst's pick, which is Michael Hage. I'm going to let you kind of discuss this guy, and again, some 23rd overall obviously is a bit late because they made the playoffs last year. They were doing good, but this guy's an interesting one, and he could help, especially if they plan on dealing Fraser Minton.
Yeah, this report kind of came out before the Leafs even had their draft combine and any of the interviews. And I'm not sure if they even talked to Michael Hage at the end of the day, but this is a really good player for the Toronto Maple Leafs at this pick. I think this would be great for the Leafs if you were to fall to 23. I think that's the main thing here with this mock draft, at least. And we're going to get to a few other players. And I have my eye on one guy specifically I think the Leafs should take at 23 because I think he'll fall there. But if you take a look at Michael Hage's stats from last season, pretty impressive, right? Like he had a really good year in the with the Chicago Steel, and it's a good organization there too. They turn out a lot of really good prospects, and he opted to go there instead. He's from Mississauga, so he's close, to Toronto. It would kind of be like a homegrown talent in a way. So he would be a great acquisition. He's a little bit smaller than I would like to, but again, I don't think you can really draft for necessity. You have to draft the best available player. So I'm not sure if he'll drop to the Leafs, but I think he would be a very interesting player for the Leafs at 23.
Yeah, he's been linked to the Leafs in the past. Again, the biggest thing is, will he actually be available at 23? Maybe if they do end up doing a Mitch Marner trade and they trade up, they get some sort of pick earlier, they could also go for him. But like you mentioned it, very, very good player. Very great season last year for the Chicago Steel, putting up 75 points. So 18 years old. It's going to be interesting to see what Michael Hage can do. And there's also some reports coming out, and these are the 6 prospects that the Leafs have spoken with that could be available. And Darius, some interesting guys. We've discussed a couple of them briefly in the past in the middle of some videos. But again, 23rd overall is an interesting spot where you're not exactly sure who's going to be available, who's not. Which of these guys is catching your eye out of the 6 that they've reportedly interviewed already?
A lot of these guys are, rumored to have top end talent, and they should be really good NHLers. But EJ Emery is one guy that I think that the Leafs should absolutely. Again, it's the type of thing that, like, in a best case scenario, you can pick any of these guys that they talk to, but will they fall to the Leafs at 23, right? And Emery is another guy that I think they should keep an eye on. So out of the group that they talk to, at least, I think I like Emery the best, top end talent again. But that's name value. There's another guy we're going to discuss in just a little bit that I'm really putting all my eggs into one basket per se, just because I did see him play live this year and I really liked his play and his size. So we'll get to that in a second. But out of these guys that we know for sure that they talked to at the draft combine, I really like Emery. But again, it's a matter of will any of them fall to the Leafs. But it doesn't seem like they were talking to any of the guys that, are like top 10 or anything. These are more in the 10 to 30 range for the Leafs. So should be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Emery's the biggest name out of these 6. Makes the most sense, kind of. But again, at this point, you're kind of playing 23rd overall. Any of these guys could be picked early. You could have some teams trade up. So it's going to be interesting. But it is an interesting report to note that they've spoken with these 6 prospects. So maybe they'll be, if they have to narrow it down between some of those guys. But Darius, there's a lot of different, obviously, reports going on here. Here's another one. Leafs open discussion with what is believed to be around 6 prospects. And again, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are about these 6 and which one of the 6 would you prefer the Leafs to grab. Now, Darius, I think this is your guy here that we're going to get into, Liam Greentree. And you can see Kyle Kushman saying Memorial Cup and the Combine are in the books. This was way back. This was a couple weeks ago. But it's the home stretch for the draft, which means it's time for a full first-round mock Liam Greentree is the guy we have our eye on here. It would be an interesting, a cool projection if we can get this one right here, but would be a very good pick at 23. Obviously, we know he has a great shot. He would kind of fit the mold of what Craig Berube, I think, would like to look for going forward if he even stays, obviously, by the time he comes up. But strong, physical, good leader would fit Berube's style well.
Yeah, he would. He really would. And he's a big player. He's 6'3", right? And he's only 18 years old. He can put on more weight. He's around 210 pounds. So that's all well and good, right? He's a heavy player and he plays that type of style. He had a really good year in Windsor this year, putting up 90 points in only 64 games. He didn't play the entire season. He only missed 4 games, but he put up 90 points on one of the worst teams in the OHL. So there is something to say about that. And Bradshaw Living was actually at a lot of OHL games this year, scouting, mostly Oshawa Generals games, but he was taking a look at Windsor too. So I wonder if he's taking a look at this guy. The Leafs had a lot of scouts in the OHL this year around different cities. So again, I wonder if they were looking at him specifically or if he caught their eye, but you know, this is a guy who should certainly be at 23. And if you're the Leafs, he can make an impact, you know, somewhere down the road. I'm not saying he's going to make the NHL next year, but he's a big player who can put up a ton of points in the OHL on a team that was quite bad. Like Windsor was not great this year. So he is, I think, my guy at 23. I would be really happy if the Leafs were to take this player. I think he can develop into something really good for them. But we'll just have to wait and see what their plan is, because Wes Clark is a magician for the Leafs, obviously getting Easton Cowan last year. So we'll see what's up his sleeve this year. It should be fun.
Yeah, they're coming off. The Leafs had some pretty good drafts. Obviously, Easton Cowan was the one that at the time was kind of seen as a stretch, and now it's seen as one of the steals of the draft. Fraser Minton, all these guys. And the biggest question mark, I honestly have faith in Wes Clark, like you mentioned, just to draft the right player. But you're looking at these, and we've discussed so many. There's so many guys that are available. And I will ask you this. Do you think that a Mitch Marner trade would include a earlier pick in case they want to trade up and they have their eye on someone else? Or do you think it kind of depends? And I think it kind of depends on if they have a player they're really, really eager to get, kind of like they were with Easton Cowan when it was considered a bit of a jump to pick him in the as early as they did.
So the only reason I don't think that happens is I believe if Mitch Marner is going to get traded, he's only going to accept a trade to a team that's a contender, right? So you're not going to get a draft pick that's going to be much higher than yours, and certainly not in the top 10. So I have a hard time believing that that scenario would happen. Like, I don't think you're going to get a higher draft pick for Mitch Marner. Now, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? It can certainly happen. It depends where he wants to go at the end of the day, but I don't see that scenario happening. But I could see them, you know, including their first round pick in a Mitch Marner trade, and then maybe they get a first rounder back as well. But obviously the positioning would be, I don't think it's going to be higher than what the Leafs are currently picking, just because it sounds like he wants to go to a contender. And obviously the contenders are picking between 25 to 32. So it should be, it'll be fun to watch, but I don't think he's going to want to go to a team that's rebuilding or has a high draft pick.
Yeah, and most of the mock drafts or mock trades we've seen regarding Marner have been including the Leafs' 23rd pick. So it's going to be interesting to see if they get any of these guys or if they go for more of a win now mode with Craig Berube behind the bench. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know about all these prospects. Which one are you looking forward to seeing? And hopefully, so the Leafs make a big move very, very soon. See you soon.